Hey guys, welcome back to Coin Knowledge. So right now we're looking at Solana, which is having a killer run right now. We just saw Solana closed over $200 today, which it has been a while since Solana has, kind of been above these regions. Last time we saw this was literally in December, and then right after Trump launched his meme coin on Solana was the last major time we saw the Solana ecosystem really start to fire and ramp up like it is right now. Now, I still think you're quite early as far as catching the liquidity kind of moving into the Solana ecosystem and, trickling down into the Solana ecosystem altcoins. So I'm going to be giving you guys my opinion and a couple, projects and altcoins within the Solana ecosystem that might be worth taking a look at here. Now, this is not any financial advice, obviously. This is not me telling you to go buy these specific coins. This is just a couple that I'm looking at to play within the Solana ecosystem. Because again, as we know, typically when the leading chain like Solana itself or Ethereum or Avalanche, when the main token, starts to pump up pretty high, we start to see the money kind of flow into its ecosystem because people see Solana's doing really well. Then they start moving down the risk curve to start potentially thinking where are the next pumps going to be underneath Solana. So as always, let me know if you guys get value out of the video by liking the video and subscribing to the channel, and comment down below what are some other Solana picks that you're also looking at and DCAing into in this market. So again, Solana here at 201. Now, where do I think Solana could go? I'll give you my quick personal opinion here. Where we look at, earlier in the cycle, it put in a new all-time high of literally, 200, about almost $300, 294 6 months ago, literally right like immediately after Trump launched his meme coin. We saw it almost touch $300 here. When we look at market cap, I mean, Solana just keeps putting in essentially new all-time highs as far as the market cap goes this cycle. So for me, I think Solana easily, I don't want to say easily because I think it's easy in crypto, but I do want to say with high conviction that I do think we see a $500 to $700 Solana this cycle. Now, obviously, that puts the market cap here in the several hundreds of $billions in market cap. I do think it's fully on the table there. I do think Solana's not going anywhere. I do think Solana is going to kind of still be a top altcoin here, especially when we look at chains that are actually being used. Solana is one of them, right up there with stuff like Ethereum and some others as well. So Solana is an ecosystem, as we've been saying for years. Do not ignore it. Now, where would I be looking? Well, those two top plays that are pretty straightforward, pretty easy, that you could always look at. Really, when any chain does really well, you can start by looking at the leading dexes on that chain. When we look at something like Jupiter here, which across the two between Radium and Jupiter, Jupiter's token, obviously we saw it do its airdrop and come out, throughout this cycle earlier on in 2024 versus Radium, the other leading DEX on Solana, which we'll take a look at here in a minute. So I think Jupiter, obviously, it's a newer play. The DEX has been around, but the coin itself is a newer launch going into its first cycle. Now, right now, we see that it is actually up pretty big on, the 1 month, up about almost 80% on the 1 month alone. Again, following the success of Solana. And the crazy thing is, I still think that Jupiter still has some moves and legs this cycle. Especially when we look at something like Radium. If we look at Radium now, it's almost at $1 billion market cap, but same thing, up 80% on the 1 month, obviously having a lower market cap as well. But if we just go ahead and look at where Radium alone got to, back when Solana put in its all-time high, $2 billion for something that has been around for a lot longer. And if we look at where Jupiter got to, literally around that same time, $3 billion. So we're still about 40% off as far as market cap goes from not that long ago. So as far as where Radium could go, I think if we see Solana, again, get to those $500, $700 levels, which if it doesn't do that, it doesn't do that. If it does more than that, then cool. That's just giving you guys an idea roughly. Obviously, don't lock in that price, as a, end all be all. But I do think that we're going to see the leading DEX, which it is choosing, it looks like, to be Jupiter this cycle. And again, in my opinion, it's just a better experience, personally, a better user experience than Radium. So I think Jupiter, in my opinion, does have everything it has underneath of it to cross over that $5 billion mark as the leading DEX on a leading ecosystem like Solana. So I'd be looking at Jupiter and Radium for a lower market cap play just because they are the two leading dexes on Solana as well. Now there is other smaller, dexes, but in my opinion, when you're looking at chains, in my opinion, it really doesn't do a whole lot as far as the risk to reward versus, trying to stray outside of the leading dexes because there's so many on every chain. I do think it's a little bit more wise, obviously not financial advice, just to stay with the leading dex. So I would stay with Jupiter or Radium, in my opinion. Now, when we look at other narratives that are coming, one as leading narratives this cycle, but also that are on Solana as well, I'd be looking at something like Render here, on Solana. Now, obviously, we see Render, Deep, AI, DPIN, they kind of pump together, but obviously it leans a little bit more into the DPIN side of things. I think Render here, one, for the revenue that they're bringing in, for being honestly one of the top plays in the DPIN category, and it still does pump alongside AI, as we've seen in the past. The DPIN and AI kind of connected there. I think Render, and especially when we look at where it got to, it was like $10 earlier on about a year ago now, a little over a year ago, obviously a year and a half. Got over $10 here. I think Render, if you're looking for a top cap, a large cap in the DPIN space on Solana, I'd be looking at Render. Obviously we see on the 1 month alone, it is up 60%, which is massive for something of this market cap. So Render is what I'd be looking at. Aether. Now, what's crazy about Aether is that we have been calling out Aether for a little bit now. If you guys have ever watched any of my DPIN kind of AI videos, I do think Aether, in my opinion, I think is a repricing here. Obviously, Render has been around a lot longer. It's kind of put itself as that top leader in the DPIN space. But what's crazy is that I can't remember the exact numbers off the top of my head, but Aether actually makes within its first year more annual revenue by a lot than Render does. So I think the fact that, Render is, roughly 8x times the, circulating market cap that Aether is, and we look at where it got to earlier on. I mean, it, got to a $5 billion market cap, and Aether makes it's not even close, so much more revenue than Render does at literally 12x down, 12x less of a circulating market cap than what Render got to about 6 months ago. So I think Aether, even though, yes, it is up a little bit on the 1 month, so if you look over the 1 year, it is, up a little bit. Nothing crazy, not something like, again, like a large cap like Render being up 60%. I think you still have plenty of time to potentially accumulate Aether if you're looking for a play, again, in the AI DPIN, mainly DPIN narrative on Solana. I'd be looking at Aether for a mid cap. Now we go solely AI. Now, if you guys know, if you've been around for a while, Tars AI is still a project that I do remain bullish on. Now they have, as far as their updates have gone over this year, they could have been better a little bit, in my opinion, as far as their social presence, but I do still expect Tars AI to do quite well, whenever AI coins start to really pop off, especially, again, being one of the leader, lower caps in the AI space on Solana that's actually has a product that actually gets talked about. I think Tars AI here is one that obviously we've accumulated quite early on. So I think Tars AI for kind of a lower cap in the AI space within Solana is something that I'd be taking a look at. And again, this is not saying it's the only AI project within Solana. You can obviously just use this logic, whether it be for dexes, for different narratives, DPIN, AI, RWA. You can use that and find other projects that you have conviction in. If it doesn't have to be these, just again, the main point is Solana's blowing up, so you can use the potential theory that the Solana ecosystem and quality altcoins and hot narratives could potentially get some of that attention, liquidity flowing into them here soon, following the rise of Solana. So Tars AI is one I'm looking at for AI. And we look at the RWA space. There is two that I do like. Now, Parcel is one that we accumulated quite early on. Now, we were always extremely open about the fact that they had heavy dilution coming this year. So obviously, we've been seeing that hit Parcel with heavy unlocks, but it is still up, about 76% here on the 1 month. Now, Parcel is in RWA. They are focusing more on, real estate side of things in the RWA space. And the next one is Art Trade, which is another lower cap RWA play on Solana. There's not a whole lot of quality low cap RWA plays on Solana solely. That's why I'm looking at these two. But Art Trade is up, again, almost same percentage, 76% on the 1 month. they focus more on like the luxury items side of things, as far as like buying luxury items, stuff like that. On chain. So again, in that RWA narrative. So that's why I'm looking at Art Trade as well for a couple low cap RWA plays, because again, you see here the top narratives are stuff like DPIN, RWA, AI. Those are the ones I'm really dialing in on here. Now, the last one here, and I will make a side note again about, because it gets asked sometimes, I am still quite bullish on gaming. If you guys have been watching, you know what gaming picks that we're bullish on, especially within the Solana ecosystem. I just think for right now, in the immediate future, I think that you'd be better off personally, maybe looking at stuff like DPIN, AI, RWA. I do think gaming will run potentially towards the end of the alt season of this cycle before we see it blow off top, but I still hold gaming positions. That's the only reason why we didn't add any here today, because I think you'd be a little bit better off looking at these narratives for more of an immediate accumulation and what I think the money's going to flow into next immediately. So that's just a quick sidebar there. And the last but not least, now I don't talk about memes a whole lot on this channel because, again, one, the risk is obviously high if you don't know what you're doing, and it's easy to get overexposed as well and not take profits on stuff like memes. And there are also so many as well, but I can go on a tangent there. But I think if you are looking for a broad meme exposure, again, this is not me saying to go buy this token, especially when it is up massively on the 7-day, massively, almost like a 4 to 5x on the 1 month. But Pudgy Penguins, if I was going to bet on one, it'd either be Pudgy Penguins or Bonk. The only reason I put Pudgy over Bonk is, one, the community's so much higher. Their NFT collection, the floor price is literally just going higher and higher by the day. And they're doing everything right as far as marketing partnerships. So we look at memes across the space, especially specifically on Solana. I think Pudgy Penguins with the Pengu token is a no-brainer. Again, if you're looking for just broad meme exposure, I do think Pudgy Penguins has everything it takes to potentially pull something like a Doge or Shiba Inu from the last cycle. It is crazy to look at something like Pudgy Penguins that is up, from about a $500 million market cap about a month ago up to closing in on a $3 billion, and see that it's undervalued. But I think where it could potentially go, especially if we see that meme super cycle pop up again, especially we know it's probably going to happen on Solana. I think the room for the upside within the Pengu token is definitely there. Just realize it is, even though the market cap is super high, it is one of the riskier plays brought up today, especially if you're going to get in right now, which I would advise against because it is up massively. Again, up over 400% on the 1 month, up 40% literally on the 7-day, and up 22% today. If you're going to look at something like this, please wait for a pullback. It will probably happen. Again, not financial advice, but that's what I'd be looking at, guys. Again, just wanted to get on here and give you guys my opinion. With Solana doing what it's doing, literally skyrocketing right now, closing over that $200 mark, which we haven't seen in a while here. I do expect the Solana ecosystem to kind of start getting that momentum, hitting all of the altcoins underneath of it. As far as our quality in the the top narratives and actually doing something, I think it's gonna be hard to go wrong as long as you're picking quality right now within the Solana ecosystem. If you're looking to play the Solana ecosystem as well, if not, that's fine. What are some other chains and ecosystems and other projects that you're looking at? As always, comment them down below. Try to answer all your guys' comments. And otherwise, thank you for taking time to watch the video. Hopefully you guys got value out of it. If you guys did, if you guys could like the video, comment, subscribe, share it, hit the notification bell, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. All right, see you guys.